Mark, thanks again for having me out here. When you first told me about building a boxing training facility on your corporate headquarters, it blew my mind because not a lot of, no shops that I know of in America have this. So why did you do it?
Well, I developed this relationship with Tevin Farmer, who is one of the boxers that I manage, and we started to go to his gym, and it was a little inconvenience for everyone to make it there in the proper amount of time that we have during the day. So I had a great idea that just came to my head one day. Well, we had some extra space, and I decided to build a gym across the street from where Tevin lives, and just made it very convenient for everyone to come and train, so we could get really, in tune to what we're doing.
So it was a combination of you wanting to help him out, but you must have a passion for the sport itself too, right?
Well, now I do. It's funny. I got into this venture. It had nothing to do with boxing. As we talked earlier, one of my employees, actually a 30-year-long employee that I mentored through childhood to where he is today, he's my head painter in one of my locations. His brother, Tevin Farmer, turned professional a few years ago, and I guess I was a boxing fan, but very loosely. More that I wanted to help Mel's brother, Tevin, pursue his dream. And when I met Tevin, we spoke for several hours. And then I met him a second time, and basically I fell in love with what he wanted to do. I fell in love with Tevin the person, and it's just something that I had to help him achieve his dream.
So now you're his manager, right?
Yes.
What does that entail as far as your duties as his manager?
Being Tevin Farmer's manager might be different than another boxer's manager, but what it includes for me is, I guess I'm a leader of his team. I brought his team together at a level that he had a great team. There's no doubt that Tevin came into this with a wonderful team. But I think the leadership skills that I have attained throughout my life, and I'm going to link it to Collision somehow, because to develop a group of employees is one thing, but to lead a group of employees to success is something that was part of evolution for myself. And when I met his team, there was just a need for another level of comprehensive teamwork. I don't know, I'm stretching for words, but what I brought to the table was more than a manager who locates fights and does his business for him. What I do is I brought his team together at the highest level to be focused and disciplined to achieve his goal of becoming world champion. And since I became his manager, we had 3 fights this year. He's been undefeated in all 3 fights. In fact, he hasn't lost 1 round since the beginning. So I'm pretty excited at the level of intensity that we all bring together.
Yeah. One of your employees told me that when you set your mind to something, you go 100% at it. And is there a lesson to be drawn from that, as far as your collision business and boxing, whatever else you might pursue, to be fully committed to something, to follow it through?
Yeah, I guess I can only speak for myself that whenever I get involved in something, I analyze it. Is it something that I enjoy or that I need to do for whatever reason? And if I'm going to entertain doing it, I have to succeed at it. And have I failed before? Absolutely. But I give it everything that I have because I made the commitment to get involved. I wouldn't get involved with any venture unless I can get 100% committed. Timing has to be right. We all have this 24-hour day, which I'm sure we were looking for 32 hours in a day, but that doesn't happen. So the timing was right I had some extra time in my life. So does anybody have extra time? I don't know, but and it led me to develop this passion for boxing now, and specifically Tevin Farmer and his career.
This is such an amazing story to me. Have you reached out to other media outlets and to tell your story? Have you had any local news crews or even national people come here to spread the word on this too?
No, I haven't, and there's no reason for it. We advertise a lot as Rocco's Collision. So we have billboards up with Tevin Farmer as our boxer. We did a breast cancer awareness campaign, and we had Tevin up on a billboard in a suit and pink boxing gloves. He also fought a match a couple months ago that he wore pink boxing gloves in the match to help the awareness of that. Tevin has quickly, in the last 6 months, become one of the most well-known boxers in the Pennsylvania area, and he's on one of the vehicles we have. We drive it around Tevin Farmer, Rocco's Collision. It's pretty exciting stuff to be able to achieve that. So I guess we haven't outreach to any news magazines, but I'm sure it'll happen.
What is your ultimate goal with this? I mean, do you want to see Tevin as a world champ someday, and then maybe you manage other boxers and you make this another second career, or is it enough to help one gentleman, in his life and his career?
So when I got involved with Tevin and this boxing venture, I had no idea what I was going to get into, and quickly I started to love the sport. I started to really enjoy the people in the sport. In it for several months now, maybe a little more than several months, and the business of it is very exciting. To learn how to. It's basically you're playing chess in another arena, and there's a lot of strategy involved, which really excites me. What happened since then is that I've been approached so far. I can't. More than 10 boxers have approached me, and some with some substantial statistics, to actually become their manager in the last several months. Wow. And the reason is because they get to see, it's a small world. We think this boxing community is very large, but really it's not. Yeah. And they got to see what I did for Tevin as a person, as a manager, and they're kind of gravitating towards me. So I know that my goal is to get Tevin, or help Tevin, to become world champion. But along the way, I am definitely going to pursue this as another career as well.
Is there another purpose to this too? In other words, if I was you, I want the community to know about this, and obviously we talked about advertising it, but it's such a feel-good story, and it kind of connects you to the community, and I would imagine would ultimately possibly bring you more business, which is all a good thing, right?
It's a great thing. I didn't get into boxing to actually get collision business, but I guess my wheels started spinning at every opportunity out there for collision. The base of everything I do is Rocco's Collision. The thing that gives me the ability to do what I like to do most is my company, Rocco's Collision. And so we're at these boxing venues, and there's billboards up or vinyl prints up, and people have businesses on the mats, and quickly I realized I should be on that mat, and I should be posted up on the wall, and I should be on the brochures, and I did, and it definitely has enhanced my collision business. And so I got in another arena, and I got to meet literally hundreds of new people, and I've gotten collision jobs just from shaking hands in another avenue of life. Yeah. And that's kind of, if you're getting at that question, everything I think that we do, I realized this early on, that I've been in other ventures too, and everything that I divert myself away from my collision center always comes back to my collision center. We are our own brand. We carry it everywhere we go, and I could say even my employees do a good job at that when they get involved in other things outside of collision. Of course, people know they're collision professionals, and when they get in an accident, that referral, that phone call, hey, can you help me? Right. And here we are.
Speaking of your employees, what do they think of this? Undoubtedly, they've worked in collision for a while, and they maybe worked at another shop, and they probably never saw anything like this. What do they think of it?
I think at first they were probably scratching their heads, saying, what's going on? But really quickly they got to see how all this really links back to collision. How it's very enjoyable too. Today, for example, we're having a day of sparring in the gym, and who doesn't want to at least check it out and see what's going on? But they could see that the venture has brought all positives to Rocco's, and it's pretty warm and welcomed in the body shop.
Well, thanks again. Thanks for having me.
Jason, my pleasure.
I look forward to seeing the sparring here.
Same here.